Why am I doing the non-spoiler edition here at the house? Well, because I got back to the house by the time I'm almost done with the spoiler edition. So here we go. I'm going to tell you right now, the cast of the Steve Jobs movie, top to bottom, outstanding. Keep your eye on the little girl who plays 5-year-old Lisa Jobs, Steve Jobs' daughter, estranged daughter. She keeps up with the Sorkin pace very well. Little Mackenzie Moss, I believe is her name. Her name caught my eye. Keep an eye on that little girl. She's amazingly talented. As is everybody else in the cast. You forget that it's Kate Winslet. You forget that it's Michael Fassbender. You don't forget that it's Seth Rogen. But at a certain point, once he gets into his first big speech, you don't see him as goofy Seth Rogen anymore. You see him as a man. He's like, this is a man talking from his feelings, speaking his mind. He has something to say. He has something important he wants to say. You start to feel the importance of what he's saying. You start to feel for him as he's talking to Steve Jobs. It's absolutely incredible. Jeff Daniels, Will McAvoy from The Newsroom, of course, another Sorkin product, is amazing in this as a sort of a father figure to Steve Jobs. The dialogue is fast-paced. It's typical Sorkin dialogue stuff. It takes a subject that some people may not be aware of or may not care. Like, for instance, I don't care one way or the other about Steve Jobs or Apple. I don't care. It's not my wheelhouse. It ain't my thing. I don't give a fuck about it. But I was interested in this movie the entire way. I was interested in this movie. Although there was a certain point where, because it's Sorkin dialogue, I started crafting promos in my head the way that I've done in almost every Sorkin movie that I've seen before. He drops these lines, and I'm like, that'd be great in a fucking promo. And I'm like, come back to the movie. There are a few lines in The Social Network that I wanted to drop in promos. There are a couple lines that I already have dropped in promos before. And this one is like, I want to drop that in promo, and I had to get myself back on track. The score was on par. You notice it, but you don't notice it. It's not telling the story that you think it's going to tell. It only tells a section of Steve Jobs' life. I don't think that's too much of a spoiler, because a lot of biopics, they really only tell a section of people's lives now. That seems to be kind of how things are going. But the sections that it does show, you understand why it shows those sections. You understand the story that it's telling, and you are intrigued the entire way there. You really are. It's great. It's absolutely great. This is why I worship at the altar of Lord. This is why I call Aaron Sorkin my Lord and Savior, because his work is just ridiculous. It's just good. There were some great, you're not going to believe it, but effects in this movie that keep your attention through various points that you don't see coming, that all of a sudden just happen, and you're like, wow. And you still listen to the dialogue. It's very good. Very, very, very good. I say go see it. It's an early release right now. Very early release. There's really only one place in Southern California that's playing it, and like 2 in New York, and like 1 in Florida. So super early release. But when it does get released wider, go see this movie. I give it 14 out of my $15. 14 out of my $15 because there is a crucial part in the movie that I believe was slightly weaker than it needed to be. If you want to find out what I'm talking about, you can go to the spoiler section. This is the non-spoiler section. So I will say there is a crucial point in the movie that comes off weaker than the rest of the movie. But because the rest of the movie is so strong, because the performances are so strong, because the dialogue is so strong, because everything else in this movie is so strong except for that one crucial point, it gets $1 crucial off the top. So 14 out of $15. Go see this movie. Like, share, subscribe. YouTube.com/surreal469. Over to the right-hand side, little blue button that says support. Click on it. You'll be supporting, and that ain't bad. Boom. Boom. And boom.
Suplex City, bitch. Suplex City, bitch. Suplex City, bitch. Suplex City, bitch.